start off with Blood of the Dead.
Blood of the Dead.
Oh,
Start with a hot one.
Start with a hot one.
Okay, so... And this is the dimension of the main quest.
The main quest.
How fun it was to make the main quest.
Yes, I guess I'd love to know as well, like, obviously you've got an idea, like a sort of fundamental idea on how the main quest narrative is going to go, but then how you design the steps and how you turn that into gameplay, to me is fascinating. That's the whole reason why we're doing this. But some of the steps on Blood of the Dead, it's arguable that when you were talking about we want to really up the ante in terms of difficulty, I feel Blood of the Dead might be one of the biggest culprits for that.
Well, and Blood of the Dead is, I mean, there's so much stuff you've got to load on when you talk about Blood of the Dead.
There's so much.
There was a community expectation. There was guys on TV holding up signs saying remaster.
I watched a video that I made of that the other day, and I could not believe how much there was of that.
My lead builder had a screenshot of that on his front door that I had to walk past for like forever, right? It was really hard because it was like, listen, whenever we touch this, the feeling is, and by the way, I'm doing truths here, so I hope
we like the sound of that.
There was a feeling that we could never win with it because it was such a loved map, right? And again, every map we hope it's the best, but for some reason, and it worked well. Mob of the Dead was really kind of taken to the heart of the community, right? And so we absolutely respected that. I'm like, well, if we touch it, we're only going to fail. There's no way to touch this and not be...
Yeah, it's quintessentially a masterpiece.
As it's perceived, right? So we're like, well, what right does the creator have to go back and touch it again? And that's obviously a big artistic conversation there. But we said, well, it can't be the old one. But the problem is, going to the same location, it will just remind everybody of the old one. So we knew it couldn't be, because then it's just a derivation of the previous one. So it has to be a new story with new mechanics. We said, okay, we can go back and build the whole thing like we did for the original. But I truly believe that us trimming back on Mob of the Dead is what made it special. And by the way, most maps were trimmed back. We talked Origins was bigger, trimmed back. Most of them bigger, then get trimmed back. And so we're like, okay, well, we can take that new space in. That comes with its own challenges. It comes with its own flow, which is challenging as well. But we were like, one of the only things we can do to kind of make it stand out in some way would be to give it a level of complexity, go the opposite way. Because otherwise it will always be compared to the perfect loop of get the parts, make the plane, go to the bridge. And so like, if you do anything else, it will just be a fat version of that. So don't just make a fat version of that, go all the way over and basically lean into what we were doing for the mode, which then was doubly scary because not only are you taking this mode on, which we don't know what the answers to that formula are, but do it on the map that the community loves and knows you're going to get roasted on when you do it. So that's what Blood of the Dead was. Probably one of the scariest maps. So when you talk about the fun, it was not fun.
It was not fun.
It was terrifying. And it was so let me kind of dispel another thing. You have multiple scripters on a map, and those scripters are in charge of working out the steps. Right. And those steps we kind of laid down, and what they'll do is they'll come to a review and they'll show them. And there's other leads that get in jump in first and approve it and look at it, and then I'll come in and have a look at it and then say, oh, and then we'll fiddle around with some stuff, right? But they're breaking down all the stuff, and we're giving the direction about more complicated or more involved, or can we have another step here, or I like what you've done there, can we do more of that? But it's not, just to be clear, these Easter egg main quest steps. It's not me sitting down and working it all out. Sometimes there'll be a big arc that I'll work out. Let's say like an ancient evil. I drew the map and said, okay, we've got the front bit and the back bit, and we've got the Pegasus, but then all those steps are then worked out by designers, right? Right. But I'll give like a high level, and then I'll go in there and kind of help at certain points. So Blood of the Dead was a team of guys, team of scripters, different sections of it, and they're all coordinating, and then my job is to come in and then unify over the top of that as well. But was it fun? It was complicated. It was involved, and it always felt like I was always struggling to try and get it to have its own personality.
Really?
Yeah, because otherwise it's just going to be in the shadow of mob all the time.
Yeah.
And that was the thing which I don't know if I ever truly got, but that's what we're going for. Is like, could we have its own personality when every second of it cries out that you're going to remember Mob of the Dead? That was very difficult.
I imagine, but also just comparing both quests, they are so different.
Yes.
That there could have been moments that sort of harked back to the original mob quest.
And we tried to, you have like the bird step, we have the prison, put in there. But it was that was the thing. You were kind of, you're trying not to do member bearing. Member Mob of the Dead,
Jingle, jingle.
But so you're doing a little bit of that. But when you're successful, they're like, yeah, like, can't we play? And then go and play Mob of the Dead. So that was the problem. And so it was always kind of, in my mind, trapped between these two worlds of trying to kind of answer certain questions from Mob or kind of close things in certain ways, while also trying to have its own identity. It has a big brother who's really successful. And I was like, how can it not stand in that shadow? That's one that will still haunt me, I think. So
really?
I don't know if we got all the way. I don't know if we got all the way with it, but that was the goal, trying to do it. But again, that was the point of Black Ops 4, which was take on something and go a different way. Because if you're doing the Black Ops 3 mentality, you couldn't do Blood of the Dead.
No.
So it had to be a different mentality to allow you to then go, okay, what is this problem? Otherwise, you'd just be making a bloated version of Mob of the Dead.
Then there's like just certain steps, like the spectral bird and the 70 plus spawns, like we said. I guess some of the more, I wouldn't say grievances I have with the map, but sort of things that intimidate me with that quest is stuff like the bird and the 70 plus spawns, like you said. The Simon Says, the ghost escort.
Yep.
I guess,
and we know that everybody hates escorts.
Yeah,
and that's why we put them in.
Brilliant.
Yes.
And did you know that I think one of the steps you need to find out the Morse code for the in the warden's office, but it took the community years to realize if you look out on the gondola, top of the gondola, look out with your shield, you'll see the boys flashing Morse code.
Yeah, you got spectral vision through the shield. Yeah.
So I guess again, it's just that maybe you could say it's fine line where you are really trying to up the ante with some of the difficulty, but then I guess, did you expect people to ever find that?
No, as I say, the motivation, the goal was to hide even more from the community.
Even more?
Yes. Like we knew that it would all get hacked open. We knew it would all get kind of trolled. So we're like, okay. But let's, again, it took a certain confidence for us to be able to say that they're never going to find this, or it will have to be hacked open before they find this. But we kept on feeling that to get back to that world where the game had possibilities or things that weren't just handed to you on a plate, that's what we were striving for. Which again, inside of Call of Duty, which on the most part is supposed to be user-friendly.
Yeah, almost handheld in some instances.
It's handheld, and it's one of the biggest world releases, one of the top-selling games in the world, and it's like, and then have this thing that just says, F you.
Pretty much.
Right? And so 3, again, was a little bit more kind of playing and a little bit more, nicer, and 4, we were like, let's go and get that edge back again.
Yeah.
And so that's where kind of the attitude of 4. So to go back to the tier list.
Of course, yeah.
See, look how I did that. Just brought it back to the...
You're a
professional.
Yeah, you're a professional. It's like you've done this before.
Done it a couple of times. Blood of the Dead, I'm going to say fun of developing. So it's great to be back there. It was great seeing it all remastered and rebuilt, which I absolutely loved that. But the quest itself, and you know what? Being in the prison cell and these little moments.
They were so good. They were so good. Just the cinematic.
Yeah.
I loved it. Like when you finally have done all the steps and you go back into the little room and then suddenly you see the lighthouse tower shatter and then you wake up in that. Oh my God, it was incredible.
I'll give that.
I loved it.
I'll give that a B. A
B.
The bit that I was always just from New Industries. There's this kind of catwalk bridge that you have to go across with the arm sticking out.
I love that.
I always had trouble with that because I was always looking at it and going, how can this map be a bit more circular? And that bit always stood out as being like this one place that you use, and then I couldn't get it back into the flow. And that's why. That's my bit where I look. You asked me, would I do anything different?
Yeah.
Work out how to get that bloody bit working.
That is crazy because at least from my opinion, I love that it's a spectacle. It feels, especially the first time, every time you play that map and you go through that catwalk, it's like, and then you get greeted by Brutus, and like that is, it's cinema.
But it's a bit too one shot for me. For a campaign, sure, but I was like,
it does feel a little bit campaigny.
It needed, do you know, for me, it needed to then, sure, you can have that moment, but then work me out a way where it wraps back into the core in a different way. Like, I get it. Don't strip that way moment, first time through, but then it can't be that then it has no other use for the rest of the map.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted it to somehow, something happen, and now it's part of the flow. It's almost like the bridge in Doris coming in. Now it's done, now it's turned to another flow.
Yeah.
I didn't feel we got that, and that's something I would want to have changed.
See, I love that because I have never thought about that before, but now you point it out, it does feel like maybe not redundant's not the right word, but just it's a space in the map which isn't used too often.
Right.
Once you've made that initial,
but it's got personality.
It does.
But it's just not. It needs to be more part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's my issue.
Chat, do you agree? Do you disagree? So you could have added a water slide from remove to spawn. What?
Where were you 12 years ago? How many years ago is it? Oh my god, it's probably...
Oh my gosh. Okay, next one, and I love this one. I think this might be my launch favorite map.
Okay.
9.
Okay.
I loved 9.
You love 9.
I love 9. Okay. Just that whole. Just the spectacle.
By the way, and at the time, can everyone get on with the Roman numerals? IX. Come on. I remember the Activision PR was like, we might have to tell them what it is. I was like, I'm sure the zombie community can work out the Roman numerals for 9. Come on.
I have a friend that works for Xbox On that actually... He's done some interviews with you back during BO3, but I remember he did a video about the BO4 launch offering and he called the map 11. He was like, Zombies map 11. And I'm like, oh no.
That's pretty good.
So if you wanted a prime example to tell Activision, wait.
Yeah. Really fun map. Really fun map. I could nerd out on that one.
Please nerd out. I'd love to, because I want to nerd out with you.
Okay. I will mention just as a historical thing. I mean, there's so much to talk about. The Brazen Bull, the shield.
Yes.
Do you know what the Brazen Bull is?
What, in real life?
Yeah.
Well, I assume it's a real bull, right?
No.
No?
Okay, I'm going to nerd out now and tell you a story. Another story. The chat probably knows. So it's actually questioned whether it is truly real.
Oh. So is it like a mythical creature?
No. It's a device.
Huh?
So it comes from ancient Greece.
Okay.
And allegedly, and this is a little bit, it's a little bit in the realm, a little bit more real than, let's say, an Iron Maiden.
Right.
So an Iron Maiden is a true fiction, right? They didn't have Iron Maidens. They didn't kill people in Iron Maidens. It's such a shame, but they didn't, right? It was made up for museums, actually. It was a hoax, right?
Right.
But people loved it so much, so, the idea of killing people inside. But the Brazen Bull was a bronze bull that you put the poor person into. John, you're going to go into the Brazen Bull. We're going to put you in, right?
Right.
And we close you in and we lock you in there. It's a big bronze bull, size of a bull. We stuff John in, right? We close it in, and then we light a fire underneath it. And then what happens is you start burning to death because you're touching bronze. You're in there and it's heating up. And you start screaming. The bull has these channels in that your screams get turned into an ox's sound. So as the person dies inside the thing, what they hear is, it's a particularly cruel, nasty thing. But people don't know if it's truly real. It was reported in kind of this ancient kind of Greek manuscript. So people think it was true, but there's no definitive evidence that it was. But it sounds just effed up enough that it might be true.
Yeah, it does.
So the brazen bull was a torture device from ancient Greece.
And so that random fact came into your head one day and you're like, you know what? Brazen Bull Shield.
Brazen Bull Shield. There you go.
And it does shoot fire, if I recall, right?
Well, you have another device.
Yeah.
There you go. What? I could nerd out on every single element inside that map.
I encourage you to do so, but we could be...
We'd have a dedicated 9 stream, but yes.
You heard it here. And also, JC's in the chat.
Yay!
Hey! Congratulations, by the way, JC.
Yeah.
Right, so yeah, 9. Main quest.
Main quest.
So let's deteriorate away from talking about shields and go on to the main quest.
Main quest. A lot of fun.
Yeah, obviously you have the 4 towers that you incorporate in a very unique way.
Yep.
Some of my highlights for that quest is when you get teleported into that new version of one of the towers and you have to go ahead and destroy all the spores.
So stylistically, this whole thing was my homage to Ben-Hur, right? So the idea of being in a huge kind of arena, the idea of the crowd shouting.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
I was actually just, because ahead of this, let's do some Black Ops 4, right? I was just remembering this and thinking, I keep on doing poop in my levels.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It wasn't an intentional thing, but the crowd throws the poop. And then later on in Dead of the Night, there's poop. I was like, did I keep on putting poop in all the quests? So apologies for the amount of fecal matter in the quests over the years.
He's done it twice, which is more than once.
Yeah. So let's hope there's not a third one. But anyway. So the different towers, the different personalities, the fact that trying to go for the different mythologies, right, and then have the different kind of artistic personalities. But then also trying different steps that were a lot more, how should I say, mechanically interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Stroke infuriating. Was
definitely more lean infuriating.
And then we also had more characters than we'd ever had before. So we had the kind of elementals. We obviously had tigers in there. We really, we were, wouldn't work if that worked or not. We have obviously the guys with the axes. What do we call them again? Have they got a name?
Are they gladiators? No.
Are they just gladiators? I can't remember. Often we give them these kind of silly dev names, and then just before they come out, we go, we've got to give them a real name, and we have to make up a name. So,
and like the meatballs, sometimes the name sticks.
Exactly. So I don't know what name kind of got out there for those guys, but we having all these kind of characters meant that kind of opened up the opportunities for kind of different quests and using them in different ways, right? Because if you've got a zombie's a zombie, right?
Right.
But once you start having mixtures, we can now say, kill this kind of character near this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Start doing specific soul boxes and, let's do this obelisk that tells you which, those other things. I can mention those ones because I know.
Yeah.
Everyone knows those ones.
That's probably one of the most iconic steps, I feel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because it adds a really intriguing challenge because you are trapped in that tower and it's like you need to very quickly see all of those symbols and go like, right, and this is the order that I need to take down all these elementals in, tigers, all of that. But then also you can find you've got all the 3 levels, but it feels like you're so caught up in the moment that you just stay confined in that one room and suddenly you're just having to do trains and like it's quite dangerous, but very fun and very rewarding, but infuriating when you get it wrong.
And it's one of those things that you need a pen and paper, right? Or you need
100%. Right? Or in solo, the glorious pause.
Right. So that was again that marked that very distinct change of the type of quest that just flows with how the gameplay goes to, okay, I'm truly multitasking here. I've got this. Not only is the quest going on, but the quest asks me to then think about 2 or 3 things at the same time on top of the monsters and the general kind of ability. So it truly is asking so much more of you rather than it's just something you're doing as you're doing the other thing, right?
Yeah. And then I love right near the end, you're like, we've put these guys through hell. Let's just give them an infinite specialist weapon and just have some fun for a few minutes.
There was absolutely that was the other thing as well. There was definitely points where you said, let's have them have fun. There's actually multiple maps where we let you have fun for a block of time and say,
thank you, we appreciate
let's take
that.
these things. Well, because it was supposed to be so hard. Again, I think I mentioned the crystal maze as being an influence. I think in a previous
when you said that, I was like,
there's 2 Brits we can.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, not many people will appreciate that, but I'm one of them.
Right. So that was that idea of like, okay, let's get harder, right? And do you know actually who did a lot of those original quests for the crystal maze? Who did that?
No.
Games Workshop, who did Warhammer 40k.
No way!
Did the original quests or some of the original designs for the crystal maze.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Anyway, so this idea of letting you have a little bit of fun every so often, like saying, okay, well, but then we'd put you in some brutal situation. We did a lot more lockdowns. We're going to lock you into a space and then have you just fight continuously and then just keep loading different things in on you. again, we wanted that feeling, which can only be generated when you truly survive something that's hard. It's just not. There's no other way of. There's no way to fake that feeling of accomplishment when you get through something and you have to have thrown the controller down several times and said, this is impossible, for it to truly feel good when you finish it.
Yeah, this is impossible, but I need to try again.
Yeah.
And then you get a little bit further on your next attempt. And then eventually when you do finally have that God tier run where you break through, you're like, yeah, that sense of accomplishment.
And that's what we're going for, because on the previous system, Black Ops 3, you could go through it and it's like, I've got it now and I've memorized it. This one, no matter whether it's today that you pick up Black Ops 4 and play it, or you've been playing it for years, it is hard and there's accomplishment to do it. And some people who are, zombie guys haven't finished those things because they're hard. And so the thing that I'm very proud of is, even for a guy who enjoys zombies, there is a challenge there that you have not done yet. As I look into the camera, wherever it is, and I say, then do it, right? Because it's hard, right? And that is that other kind of trying to then truly separate the men from the boys and say, okay, let's go even further, right? And then you truly have bragging rights.
Yeah.
Did you do this? Have you done this? Right? If you have, congratulations, right? That's true hardship. That's true rigor. Right? That's true grit.
Yeah.
As they used to say.
You definitely put us through that.
Yeah. And it was as you say it, right? As you're talking about going, Jesus, Jay, you really put us through it. It's like, yeah, and for us developing it, that was, we were very worried about that because you're taught in the games industry that we want you to be happy, we want to keep you along, and we're deliberately using our skills against you.
You're trying to do the opposite.
Which actually, if you go back to the Jimmy days, you go back to the early maps. I remember Jimmy saying to me at the very beginning, hope Jimmy doesn't mind me mentioning this, that the map itself was actively working against you. And the kind of way that we'd taken it afterwards was getting a little bit, again, from being more campaigny, we were trying to tell more of a story and be a little bit easier. And so 4, in a weird way, was a kind of effed up version of what Jimmy had started with, where the map was actually actively trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, we've developed the quest system. Let's now have the quest be actively trying to stop you by its very nature. Not the map so much. We're not trying to make doors that just sort of 1 inch slightly smaller so it catches you as you Shangri-La. As you try and catch it. But what we will do is we'll make quests that lock you in, and if you don't do it,
that's it. Lights out.
Tough S, right? So that was mentality. Back to the list.
Again, you can nerd out whenever you want. I love this. I love this.
That's the problem. We'll go for hours, then I can't get my tube back to my hotel room. Okay.
But yeah, 9. 9. The one other part as well, the boss fight. We need to talk about that because it's incredible. You talk about spectacle.
Yes.
It's like you have a whole, almost another portion of the arena for that boss. And then you're like, we're not going to just throw one.
No.
We'll throw 2 elephants at them.
And there's a whole technical lift going on there, which is the draw distance of everything. Because you've got the whole crowd out there and you can actually stand and then look across it, right? So there's a performance, from my nerdy thing on here and go, there's so much being lifted at that moment in time in that arena and keeping the frame rate high. I was just like, well done, tech department. Well done, tech art and tech department. Fantastic work. And then those huge elephants, right? And then the amount of polys and the amount of detail on them,
incredible,
was a lot of fun. And every time we test that as well, people responded really, really positively to the elephants coming out and smashing around the place.
I love that.
So I loved it. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if the elephants had other kind of references. I don't think so. Again, it was that kind of arena, kind of Ben-Hur, kind of a little bit of the Running Man, a little bit of the idea of Gladiator, you will die for our entertainment. Was that idea?
And instead of throwing tigers in, we'll throw a 12-foot elephant.
Yeah, let's do a war elephant with guys on the back. Throwing like flaming spears, I think it was, or bow and arrows.
Yeah.
So absolutely love that. So I would put 9. Fun of developing. I think I'm going to put it as S tier.
S. Oh, first S.
Yeah, I'm going to put it there because it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of. It was probably one of the first ones to kind of really kind of get going. We had Voyage, obviously, and 9 going. 9, I think, kind of got to the fun faster. So. I think what we were looking for, is this new technique working? I think 9 was where we got our confidence from. Yeah,
I would say, again, like in terms of the launch offering, main quests, whilst 9 is still difficult, I think it hits that right balance where it's just difficult enough that it's not too intimidating for someone like me.
And again, we were making 9 thinking we don't actually want anybody to do the quest. So the idea being of, like when I was being interviewed for Black Ops 4, they'd say, well, which one should we do first? And I'm like thinking to myself, like, well, it doesn't matter because I'm not making any of them for you, really.
Yeah.
Like the core experience is supposed to be the core experience. And this is all addition. But by that point, everyone's asking, well, what's the main quest? How? And I'm like, well, we're not making any of them be like that. But I can't say it like that way. So I just said, oh, well, do them in this order. But really, the whole set was supposed to be only a certain percentage of the hardcore people were really supposed to go on that quest.
And I think you achieved it.
So, yeah.
I just saw some people in the chat, and I don't want to speak on it too much because it kind of goes into multiple maps. But someone asked Magic Fractal every 10-15 minutes. Yeah. Helion Salvo, did you realise before the game came out, I guess in testing, did you realise how powerful that weapon was?
No.
So I think you learned very quickly on that is the default boss fight weapon.
Yes, I believe so. Yes, it was, and this is true of nearly every single project. There's only so much you can test. The project is going so fast,
and there's probably like a million different things.
Yeah, I mean, in your early days as a producer, you have to work out how to do test plans, right? And on a regular normal game, the test plans are insane, right? And that's with limited variables. Once you start saying, I can change the variety of this, I can change this selection here, I don't have to do that in that order, forget it. And then the weapons on top of that. And and these things are all moving and balancing. And every time we then do a DLC, that has to all be checked. Yeah, it's brutal. So there's a certain point you have to say, what will be, and then, with gobblegums on top of that as well. You got to say, well, what will be, and you're hoping that the outliers you can catch, right?
Right.
But not all of them. And then the other thing is, like I said before, when the game comes out, it is now the community's game. It's no longer my game, the community or our game as a team. It's the community's game. And so you got to ask the question, is it right for me to touch this thing?
Very fair.
There was times when, if I go back to, let's say, COD 3, where we nerfed like an MP40, right? Or World of War, right? And they went mad. How dare you touch the MP40, the best gun of the thing? It's like, well, we're trying to balance against these other things. It's always then a difficult question of, are you doing the right thing? Or is the community, is this their game now? And that's always a conversation.
I love that. It's like, you knew the Helion's very good, but it's like, we'll let them have this one.
Well, because
we need some chance.
Once you're seeing it, you're like, you know what? They'll be fine. They'll be okay.
Speaking of Helion Salvo, I feel out of any quest in Black Ops 4 where it is almost necessary is Voyage of Despair.
Sure.
As our next map.
Yep.
For out of any map in BO4, aside from Blood of the Dead, at least to me, that is the most intimidating main quest wise.
Sure. Because
like you said, there are so many things that you need to be like sort of paying attention to, but it's just the multitude of it.
Yes.
And the different locations that you need to be checking for each.
Yep.
And then we need to touch upon this because we're going to talk a little bit later on about some of the more infamous steps in Easter eggs.
I say famous, but you can use infamous.
Famous or infamous. Works out the same. Is, of course, the Voyage Planet step.
Yep.
Like, that is an incredibly cool step, but my God, to me, chat might disagree, but to me, it's one of the most infuriating steps for me. It makes me feel stupid.
Because you have to say Uranus rather than Uranus.
Yeah. I don't have to say it. I can just look at it and be like, okay, it's this one. But you make a good point.
Yeah.
But it shows that if you don't know your astronomy, you're not completing.
What are you doing here?
You're not completing this quest.
Was it on the front of Pythagoras's building? Used to say, ye ignorant of geometry do not enter here. In the same way, I would say, he who's not familiar with planetary systems, don't be playing Black Ops 4. I probably just butchered the phrase. Someone has to quit. Everyone, the internet will know what the correct phrase is, but I think it's. I'm getting ready for Ancient Evil. You see, I'm saying that one.
I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait. And don't worry, chat, that there's people that are mentioning about a certain quest on Voyage. I cannot wait to dive into that, but we're solely focused on main quest. But in terms of boss fight,
yes,
very different.
Very different.
Because I feel like with BO3, you had some maps that had sort of multi-stage boss fight, but this one was really different in the sense that not only was it multi-stage, but it was also multi-arena, where you very, you cut down versions of maps. They could be like their own survival maps, like how sort of closed off they were, and the boss sort of working in slightly different ways in each arena. Like I thought that was very cool.
Cool. I mean, so Voyage inherently had the ship. Problem number one, the ship, right? So by the very nature of it, you've got this restriction. Now, you might inherently think, oh, that's a problem. No, right? Restrictions are great. Mob of the Dead has got restrictions on it, right? We had certain restrictions. As soon as you look at Voyage, you're like, oh my god, we got restrictions because you only got this far, and it's this very much this way, and you got so much, deep. But you can knock through any wall, right? We could change the shape, and that was the conversation. Half, if not 3/4 of the conversation of Voyage to Despair was, we need to knock these walls through. Do we need to knock this floor through? Like, at one point we were like, we could make it as simple as we joked, we could make it as simple as Doris if we wanted to. You just knock all those walls through and go, there's 1, 2, and 3, and there you go. When we looked at something like a Die Rise, right, another difficult map in terms of spatial and how punishing it was in terms of its space, and we were like, okay, can we make a map that is inherently geometrically difficult? Because that was not something we usually did. And we were like, well, okay, this is the challenge of Voyage, which is how do we hold as many walls and staircases as possible while not just making it brutal? But at the same time, certain corners and turns, you might say, well, that's a problem. Like, we had those corners and turns in other maps. And so we were like, okay, to go back to the other question, I would love to have spent even more time, because I think there was more, and it's not that an idea is potentially bad. It's that if you don't couple it with another idea, it can be bad.
Right.
So there's very few things where you say, if we do this, it's wrong. It's normally, if you do this and you don't put this other thing in, then it can be wrong. But on its own, it could be wrong. But if you couple this in, it's suddenly now great, right? And so there's several areas in Voyage where I'd be like, we should have coupled it with, should have been paired with a nice Dom Perignon, we needed some pairing in there to make it work. That's the critique, the critical eye. I'm looking at it and going, could have done a different pairing there. Could have done a little bit of different pairing there. So there's nothing inherently about that map that I'm frustrated with, but I feel like some of them could have, we could have taken the edge off a little bit more on Voyage, in my opinion, while still maintaining the personality. Because I do like the personality we get in Voyage.
I love the personality.
But I wish there's a couple of those little things I wish I'd just taken the edge off a little bit. Just a little bit. Not on the quest, but on the flow of the map.
Okay. Got you. Okay, so in terms of tier, where's it going?
Main quest. So very involved. I really enjoyed the research and the kind of thoughts that they went through to make sure the history of it also came through. There's a lot of little nice touches that I don't know how familiar you are, but there's a lot of little historical nods and touches through the main quest talking about the event. There's also stuff which, because we didn't finish the Chaos story, I can't tell you all about, but there's whole bunches of stuff in Voyage which is laying up tons of stuff.
Oh dear.
You get to the tree at the end, you're fighting an eye, like, what's all that about, right? Again, these are things that were set up for longer arcs, right? So I'm very happy with it. Yeah.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say it's an A.
An A.
Yeah. A lot of fun.
Oh, chat.
I believe that if it had carried on, I think Voyage would have raised in people's expectations.
Oh.
From the depths of the ocean, it would have come up.
Oh my god. Oh. Yeah, that's pain. Chat, I'm glad. I'm glad that you were also saying the same. And also, don't worry, there's some suggestions of other bits and pieces within Voyage. We will get to that, don't worry. This is, at the moment, just focusing on main quest, but then we'll dive a little bit deeper.
I always ask this, is this what they want? Let's just check. Chat, is this working for you?
Yeah, are you enjoying this so far? Can we get some thumbs up if that is the case? You liking it so far? Okay, yeah. Yep, there we go. All right.
Nice.
Right, we got one more from launch.
Okay.
And when it comes to main quests, I'm very intrigued to hear about this one. Classified.
Yep. So it was a map that came together very quickly.
Oh.
Towards the end of the development of the main launch, right? Because we had Voyage, we had 9 already kind of loaded up on the docket. We had kind of Blood. Classified came in relatively late, but signified, in my mind, the beginning of what we're going to do with the Ether story. And so it required, starting to think about the Ultimus characters and their role, something which we'd, I wouldn't say shunned, but kind of moved away because we were focusing on Primus. And
For the longest time, they were just stuck on the moon. Yeah. Did these guys die? Like, what happens to them?
And again, it was like we wanted to come back, and I'd not gone with that gang since Reese, right?
Yeah,
pretty much
10 years.
Yeah,
more. Yeah, pretty much.
So coming back to them was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Which was strange for Craig, the writer, myself, which was like, okay, how do we write for these guys now again?
It's been a hot minute.
Because we've been over here in Primus for so long.
Yeah, you developed them to have these completely different layers, almost essentially like different characters at this point.
Yeah, and then we were like, well, we got to come back, but fans love it, we love it, right? But there's a certain buffoonery about them.
Yeah.
How do we embrace the buffoonery and enjoy it while not taking the mickey, not belittling them, being respectful of them, but also being as playful as they were originally, which was very playful, right?
Yeah.
And that was the difficult. I'd say that was probably the most difficult thing about Classified, was trying to think about how to go back into that mode, and do it properly. The quest itself, it was, from what I remember of it, it was trying to, I remember we were trying to say, let's try and keep this as light as we can, was the conversation. Whether we achieved that or not is a different question. But
to some extent,
we were trying not to make it as brutal as the other ones. I'll hand it over to you to whether you agree with me on that.
Chat, not as brutal as the other ones, except you need to play for 12 hours plus.
Yeah, but we weren't going to make it as tricky in terms of, that was the goal. We weren't trying to make it as atomically difficult as we were doing with other ones.
Okay, so I guess in that sense, I would say that you achieved it, but at what costs?
Well, it's like, yeah, we were, again, it was with something where we weren't doing over the top production values. We weren't doing over the top things inside the level. We were trying to be semi respectful of the original one,
of course.
We're not, we'd done Chronicles before, obviously, and this is coming on, and we're like, well, what is it? Is this? It's not that. It's not. So we're doing something to it. It's a different point in time, but we're not going to throw the kitchen sink at it in terms of changing the fundamental nature of it. So we'll make some strategic changes.
Yeah, of course.
And kind of let it out, right? So we weren't going for, and we just wanted to set the characters back up again for the story later. So we were trying to go simple. We were trying to. Could have been a process.
Yeah, around 150. I'm curious, was it always 150?
Yes.
Or, because I remember when the game came out, there were initial rumors that it might have been something stupid like 250.
Well, it could have been. It was supposed to be an outrageous number.
Yeah.
It may have been even higher, and then we brought it down. Yes, possible.
Okay.
But again, that was. Do you know the thought that was happening there?
Go for it.
Let's give something to those high round guys.
I was gonna say,
because I would go on these interviews and this press stuff, and people keep on talking to me about the high round guys. And the high round guys, it was always about, let's get all the crashes done. Like, how do we get all the crashes? But that's the thing that kind of robs these guys of the fun. And we've done the storyline guys, we've got the quest guys, we've got the side Easter egg guys. What can we get for the high? How can we get the high round guys have something that nobody else is going to find?
Yeah.
Now again, we had a bunch of blue screen issues and other stuff, which kind of took the wind out of that, unfortunately. But the idea was, let's give something to that community that we've never specifically given before. So let's put a round that's just silly that nobody else will see. That was the motivation.
Nice. Was there any sort of like predictions on how long you expected the community to find that?
So we were not super in tune. Even so, I've talked in the past, we'd have like a group who would go onto the internet and look at YouTube stuff,
of course,
right? So I wouldn't, right? And even those guys would say the high round guys are a hard group to track or to understand exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? So we didn't know. What we did know is that they were all maniacs, and so the idea was if they could, they would. And so people would say, it's gonna be years before we find that. I was like, it's gonna be like weeks. These guys are, if not days. These guys are, from what I know, because it's quite an opaque community from the development point of view.
Of course,
we couldn't really, guys would come and see me like, we don't know what they're doing. Where are they? They're the deepest parts of the internet. So my thought was it would be found quite quickly. But we set it. Yeah, you're right. We did set it quite high, and then we brought it down to an easy 150.
Oh yeah, an easy 150.
An easy for these high round guys. 150 is walking about, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. But on the launch of the game, not necessarily as easy.
No, unfortunately not. No.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I didn't do that until March.
I would like to claim that the blue screens was to slow down the Easter egg cracking, but unfortunately that was not the reason.
Oh gosh! All right, so classified again. That's fascinating to me. I didn't realize from like a development timeline how little time. Yeah, I guess in the grand scheme,
it was a short one. Yeah, it was definitely a short one. I would say that's a C.
A C. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but now we move on to DLC, and oh boy, I am so excited to talk to this man about some of these DLC maps.
Okay.
Hopefully, chat, you feel the same way here. Let's move on to Dead of the Night. And there's a lot of reasons why I love Dead of the Night. First of all, you finally set a zombies map in good old Blighty.
Sure did.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Secondly, you have an incredible celebrity cast, and we were talking a little bit before the stream.
Wonderful actors.
Yeah, I felt like it almost feels like an impossible feat to have a celebrity cast for say Black Ops 1, then to almost one-up that in Black Ops 2, then to do it again in Black Ops 3, and then to do it again in Black Ops 4. But there's this element where I guess maybe with Call of the Dead, there wasn't really as much focus on creating like a big narrative around these characters. They were pretty much, they were the celebrities that they played. Yeah. But going all the way to Dead of the Night, these characters were so boisterous and so full of life. But if you know them well enough from, the sort of their careers and what they're like, they're not too dissimilar, which is, like Brian Blessed. I don't think enough people made as big a deal to get him in a zombies map.
It was so, by the way, that was purely for me and my childhood. To meet Brian Blessed was like on my bucket list. I know him from Flash Gordon, right? And he didn't disappoint. Within like 5 minutes of walking into the recording studio, he's like, "Gordon's alive!" He's shouting out. And I had a beard at the time, and he's coming up and grabbing my beard. "Oh yes, good beard. Yes, not as good as mine, but a good beard." And we just loved Brian Blessed. Was fun. All of them were absolutely fantastic. And I think the only one. So we flew to England to record. Charles and Helena and Brian, and then Kiefer was in LA, so we recorded him in LA, right? And Kiefer was funny, right? Because he's worked with us a bunch of times.
Of course, yeah, Sergeant Roebuck,
fantastic actor, fantastic character actor as well. And he read through the script. He said, "What voice do you want?" And we went, "We don't bloody know. You're the actor." And he was like, so he started kind of developing this thing. We went through about half the script with him changing the voices as we're going along. Trying different American accents and different and then about halfway through he finds it and he says, "Excellent, let's go back to the beginning." We went back to the beginning and recorded the whole thing again.
So he was doing most of the script in one voice. Finally honed in on what he wanted.
Just changing it, trying different southern twangs, trying different regional accents. And
then he was just like, right from the top.
The guy is actually a really diverse voice actor. People don't give him the kind of credit for this because he doesn't know he's doing the. I'm misunderstood. I'm Jack Bauer. I'm misunderstood. But he's got a fantastic range of performance he can do. And so just sitting there watching, a master of his craft just working in the recording booth.
Yeah.
And then he just said, right, I found it. And we just go again.
But when it comes to projects like that, it must feel like utter joy to be able to just sit there and watch these celebrities like do what they do best, reading for a zombies map.
Helena Bonham Carter, I mean, she's an accent chameleon. So, we meet the actor before we're going to do a session, and Craig Houston's there, right? So Craig being Scottish, she just starts doing Scottish as she's talking to him, right? As she's talking to him, but she's doing really good Scottish. Like she's not doing a poor impression.
She sounds like she is Scottish.
Yeah, she's just moving into Scottish as she's talking, right? And we were like, no, lose that. We can't have you doing a Scottish accent. You got to be a gypsy woman. No, she was incredible. Brian was incredible. They're all incredible. Charles Dance, absolutely.
Oh, incredible! And at
really,
the height of like sort of Game of Thrones peak popularity at that point.
Really funny guy as well. Which you walk in and you think, I'm going to walk into Tyrion Lannister. And he's going to be all scary and go, "You are not the king," and do all this kind of shit. And he's telling jokes and he's telling us about driving E-Type Jaguars in the '60s in London and all these wonderful stories. And we're like, this is fantastic. And then he gets in there and it just switches on.
And he becomes serious.
And he's every word sounds like it's going to tear you apart. Just loved every minute of it. And we did that down in, it was Pinewood Studios.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we actually went.
That's so cool.
The James Bond stage was there and everything. And we were doing the recordings in the recording booths.
That must have been so surreal.
It was great fun. It was great fun, yeah. But yeah, it also, just while we're on it, I'll do controversy. Here we go.
Oh, I don't know what he's about to say.
Dead of the Night is Black Ops 4's Zetsubo no Shima. And why do I say that? It is the most experimental and most atomic of it, right? It is my homage to one of the very first CD-ROM games on PC that came out called Seventh Guest.
Right.
It's not the first one. Like Myst or something was out there. Some Star Wars games. But Seventh Guest was one of the first CD-ROM games for PC. And it was in this kind of stately home. And it was the idea of all these kind of puzzles and quests that you went round and solved them, right? And so being able to go and do this kind of Victorian style... again, being back in Blighty, just really playing into that kind of Victorian parlour quests. And a lot of the entertainment back from those days were quite complicated because there was nothing else to entertain you, right?
Yeah, there was no like TVs or radio or anything like that. So the
idea of like making the map itself like a kind of a recognizing of the complexity of Victorian style. Victorian, by the way, they were all into like fourth dimensional stuff and time stuff. Like, they used to have parties in Victorian England about stare. I know I'm going to... This is not connected to this other thing. They used to sit around and stare at hypercubes.
Really?
Yeah, it was like this whole thing that, if you have a party, you go and sit there and try and see the fourth dimension and stuff. Like, it was a whole thing in Victorian England. Arthur C. Clarke, created... So not Arthur C. Clarke, so Arthur Conan Doyle, sorry, my mistake, who made Sherlock Holmes, was all about logic and deciphering and so forth. And later in his career, he got into the idea of fairies and the idea of supernaturals and so forth. This was very Victorian style... conversation. Actually, Harry Houdini went around and tried to actually dissuade him from the idea of magic.
Wow.
Anyway, all this stuff was all...
This is so... I love this.
It was all rolling into what Dead of the Night needed to be. And I wanted to kind of capture that quintessential English thing. I also wanted the American there to be the outsider to kind of critique the English kind of stuffiness or the English, we should be able to make fun of ourselves by having the American look at it, right? So yeah, one of my favorites is Dead of the Night. And again, that was one of those ones where I asked for the name. You have to ask legal before you have a name. And I was like, I'd love to call this Dead of the Night. You see what I did there? Right? And they were like, I was like, there's no way legal's going to approve that. And it went through. I was like, you telling me no other game has reserved the word Dead of the Night? But I got it through.
Insane. And also, you broke the trend of something of the dead.
Yes.
Right, you flipped it on its head. You could have called it Night of the Dead, but that kind of sounds a little bit similar to another map name. We don't want to get confused.
No.
But I think the name of the map, it sums up the sort of the very like, you need one line about what the map whole thing is about. It's set in the dead of the night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really, really happy with that. So yes, it's I would put that at see now, because I can see the other one I want to put up there. I'm worried. I'm worried I might put too many things on S here.
I don't necessarily think that's a problem.
You don't think?
Chat, does that sound like a problem? I think
I've got one other one that I want to put an S.
Okay.
So I'm torn now. I'm thinking, do I need to put this one as an A?
I have no idea what map that could be. But remember, when you are putting another map in S, the order of it means the one that's right next to S, that is your number one S. So anything that goes... So if you were to place it there, it's essentially lower than 9.
You know what? I'm going to give it an A.
Oh, an A. Okay, but is it above Voyage? Or
I think it's above Voyage.
Above Voyage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was so close. What is it that's just sort of changed your mind ever so slightly from S to A? This is going to make no sense to anybody else now. There's just when steps go a certain way, there's a smoothness to them. Can't describe. I don't know how to describe it. This is chat will understand
what you're very directory now, right?
We love this.
There's a certain smoothness to the steps, and you know, if I'm going to be super critical, I think that could have been a little bit smoother.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair, because when you're talking about making all these quests atomic, I think Dead of the Night might be one of the best examples of you need to do this where there's three
broken down.
You can do all these in different orders, but it's like you need to get 3 parts here, but then the next thing you need this thing that could be 6 parts, and then you need that thing, then the scratches,
tallies,
the scratches, guys. Oh my god! But also the werewolves. I love that inclusion. Like I loved it. Like the whole so when you open Pack-a-Punch and you're introduced to it. I feel like that's something you've done quite a lot with your maps. But I love that sort of introduction where you see something and you're like, this is going to become like a main focus later on. I'm going to present it to you for like a moment, and it's not going to be as big and scary as it seems. But you wait.
I mean, like the Crimson Nosferatus. The Nosferatus in general, right? The werewolves. There was a lot of again, it was like mix and trying to, you know, one of the challenges for Dead of the Night was physical real estate. We got to a point where, because everything had been atomic and we'd broken it all down, every inch of the map had something in it, and we were like, well, that's not going to work. That means anywhere you stand and look, there is something hidden that should be there. Because we got to a point where it's like, well, on that table, there's that on there, and there's that underneath there, and there's that over there. And it was just getting too dense across the entire map. That was one thing I was like, I wish Dead of Night would have been a little bit bigger, because we could have hidden things a bit further away.
Bigger? Wow.
Because I was just, every inch I was like, from this point here, I can see like 15 things that we've hidden. And then if you move over there, I can see 15 things that, like, it just, every inch of it just had stuff in it. And I was like, oh, it's getting too cramped, you know, but
it worked. It worked out in the end.
Yeah, that's where I was like, let's hide things behind bookshelves. Like putting them actually inside the real like map was just getting harder and harder. And I don't like maps getting too big. So even though I'm saying, oh, I wish it was bigger, it's like, no, it's always a quest to make it smaller, tighter.
Smaller.
Yeah. The ultimate thing is small and efficient. It's very hard.
I can imagine.
Especially when your other rule is atomic and break everything out. So it's going against it, right?
Yeah.
It's basically saying, let people do more work, but don't have the map just keep expanding.
And I think some of the other highlights of Blood of the Dead that I love, again, Blood of the Dead, tying it into Blood of the Dead, I have a point here. So yeah, Dead of the Night, part of the main quest when you're playing as Charles Dance's character, when you have to sacrifice yourself, Godfrey, that was a crazy cool step. But also you can link that in a little bit and see maybe a homage to where you played around with that idea with Richtofen having to get inside the Dark Machine in the boss fight. It's kind of like maybe that there is some sort of connectivity there where you're playing the idea that one character specifically has to do something in order to progress the narrative in a really cool gameplay way.
Well, that's getting into a little bit of Ancient Evil there, right?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. And yes, we were playing around with that, and I was very excited by that idea of, and again, it's trying to weave in some campaign stuff that wasn't going to try and break the flow, but gave little cinematic moments in the flow of the thing.
Yes.
It's like the, we talk about Blood of the Dead being locked in the cells. Cinematically, it's a really fun moment.
Yes.
But our concern was always, but are people just going to get wound up by that? That you have to do this to go through it.
They have to be stuck in there for about 5 minutes.
But I was like, I kept reminding ourselves, like, this is supposed to be for the hardcore of the hardcore group. And this is not like Black Ops 3 where, let's go and play it and do the thing. It takes a certain type of person to say, let's go all the way. So I kind of let myself off the hook a little bit there and said, okay, well, this is a certain type of player who's doing this. Yeah. And they're not just doing this on a Sunday. They're doing this because they want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, having that moment, let's say when we get to Ancient Evil, it's like, no, I think the cinematic can actually ride, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of an experience.
Yeah. Speaking of, let's move on to Ancient Evil. But on that topic,
yes.
I think at that point, it just feels like you were showing off because you're like, oh, we'll have one sort of campaigny cinematic moment, but then let's also do it again, but from the other player's point of view.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. It was really cool.
I love that.
I enjoyed it.
And of course, you got that callback to the intro cutscene for 9, where it pays off the symbols that allows them to get into Ancient Evil, and then it sort of all comes a little bit full circle with that moment.
Well, because you've got at the end on the boat leaving from the Titanic, right? From Voyage of Despair.
Yeah.
That then links into Ancient Evil.
Let's go into Ancient Evil.
Ancient Evil. Ancient Evil is S for me straight away.
Is it top of the S, or is it below 9?
I think it's top of the S.
I agree. I think
it's top of the S. Lot of fun. Absolutely, obviously leaning in, not only from a gameplay point of view, but from a map point of view. So again, talk about restrictions. I got the map of Delphi, right? And the idea, in Greek mythology, the overworld, the underworld is a constant theme. And so, I think I sat down and kind of drew it on a whiteboard and said, this is the map. And essentially I'll draw it here. I show you.
I don't have any whiteboards around, unfortunately.
But essentially, it was like 2 caves, and I had a waterfall down the middle. And I said, "This is the main game," and then you go through the waterfall, and this is the secondary game.
Yeah.
And this is the, we talk about the egg, which is the center of the world, and what Zeus and the kind of where the center of all this kind of good stuff. And so it was like, okay, let's get all this kind of lore, let's get all this kind of mythology in there, and then at the same time, we're also setting up Alistair Rhodes and the Order and what's kind of going on there. So there was just lots and lots of fun there. And then Delphi with the history of the prophet and then our subversion of that and all that kind of good stuff. So
it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun there, and just being able to nerd out on the kind of mythology stuff was just really fun. I mean, it was kind of great to kind of start to do it on 9, but then by the time you get to Ancient Evil,
it's just gone from. Well, I mean, 9 was by no means like a small, like that was probably like an 8, but like Ancient Evil was like an 11.
Yeah, it was, and it felt that way as well in terms of as the map was coming together. Like some of the other ones were, as they were coming together, you're like, it's a difficult shape, and it can sometimes play a bit awkwardly. And again, we were like, well, it's not meant to be flowing in the normal flow. But Ancient Evil, I felt like it was kind of starting to get a little bit like 3 again. Like it's got a little bit of a softer edge to it.
Definitely.
And so I was like, you know what, that's okay. But I felt like we kept the atomic mentality, but I think we had a slightly softer edge, which is why I think it flowed a bit smoother. I would say we were letting ourselves off the hook a little bit.
I would agree. Because if I was to revisit Ancient Evil, I don't think I would have much trouble going through that main quest. But I like that.
Yes.
I like that you sort of recognize that there can be multiple approaches in designing a main quest.
But that was the whole point, right? Which was, let's try these things and try a different place, right? And then Ancient Evil you could look at as being the kind of starting to be the answer of where we started out here. Well, we had Black Ops 3 here, we had Black Ops 4 here. You could see Ancient Evil being the kind of the point where it's starting to like, okay, we've now got a new idea of how this is all going to kind of plug together. I felt it.
And some of the steps in that main quest, arguably some of the coolest in all of Zombies, I would say, particularly the Know Your Mark. I absolutely love that. Was there anything that inspired sort of the ideation of that? Was there like maybe like a real life reference or?
I don't know. I'd literally have to go back to the designer and ask him how he was thinking about that. The thing I do know is that when we were going through the steps of Ancient Evil, and again, Ancient Evil was in the middle of our DLC, which means we're flying, right? That means we've made the main game. People are getting tired. You know, you're kind of getting all your DLCs done. I remember that one. There was a real kind of skip in the step, and I think what was it? Was that number 3? 2 or 3? What am
I? 2.
2. So again, 1 always has the difficulty of it's being made while the main game is being made, and so it can't go too far.
Right.
2 normally gets a little bit. 3 is normally a sweet spot, but 2 is coming out of that gap, and so it's got a bit of space.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it kind of worked out. But I remember the buzz on the floor was particularly nice for an Ancient Evil.
I'm glad. But then there's just so much. There's the special enemies. I love those. The elemental wonder weapons, because you at that point you sort of got a tried and tested sort of blueprint formula of what works, and I like that these were different. Again, it wasn't what I think anyone expected.
Sure. Yeah. And we had the Giganese. I mentioned that in a previous stream. We had the Giganese.
Yes, the Giganese.
We had the Skeleton Warriors, which I got
with the frame rate. I love
Jason
that.
The Argonauts. Yeah. Ray Harryhausen. Call out to the father of animation, stop motion animation. Ray Harryhausen. So yeah, I was just nerding out full blast on that one. So it's I kind of have to. I'm probably not ranking that correctly, but I don't care.
I think it's fine because it's Ancient Evil, and I think that I don't think there's anyone that would disagree. I think like blanket, everyone loves Ancient Evil.
I appreciate that.
Is there anything on Ancient Evil, maybe just with main quest, that you felt you could have done differently if you could go back?
I mean, with how it all ended up in the end, I think it was the correct way to finish it.
Okay.
So if I'd carried on into things that we'd had planned into the future, I might then say, yeah, I'd like to change a couple of things. But considering how the cards fell, I think it's actually the right way to pause the chaos story. From my point. I know it's kind of gone on and done other things, right?
Yeah.
From my point, that was the right place to end it. So I don't think I would change it.
God.
But we were talking about it before. You want to touch everything again.
Yeah.
Right. And half of the skill is to be able to walk away from something and not touch it, right?
Otherwise, you'd be working on it till the end of time.
It never, the number of paintings that are ruined by the fact that you don't walk away from the painting. Right. So you've got to stop at some point. Right? That's why timelines and resources and money, these are all forcing functions for artists to actually do anything.
Right.
Otherwise, we'd all sit around and do nothing. So the restrictions are part of the special sauce that makes it happen. It's a moment in time. It's a number of people. It's a team, the creative, and then it's this moment in time. And that's why I feel strongly about the product is the community's once you kind of put it out there, because that's the artist's moment, and then it's the community's product, not yours.
Yeah. Right. Okay. But now we're going to move away from chaos, unfortunately. For now, this will not be the end of discussing chaos, chat. Do not worry. We're now going to move back to Ether.
Yep.
Alpha Omega.
Yeah. On of main quest. So had different sub-directors for these ones, which was very exciting because they got to really kind of flourish and open their wings and do amazing work. So I'm very proud of these two maps. Difficult, right? Alpha Omega was, giving it a very heavy title. Right? I am the Alpha, I am the Omega.
Yeah.
I am the beginning and I am the end. some religions are based on that stuff. Again, you have that question of you're going to a map that's been done before. What are you doing different? Right?
Right.
And again, at the end of a season, you're hitting certain financial and development realities. So your palette's limited. So you're like, okay, we're going to do a map. You'd want to do a unique map every single time.
Yeah, I'm sure if you could, yeah.
If you can. But you've got budgets, you've got staff, you've got commitments, it's just the nature of game development, right? It's not just a blank slate every single time where, I'm only limited by my creativity. Like, that's not how the real world works. And so you've got a certain kind of box, and we're like, okay, this is the box that can fit and work, right? But it's reasonable as well, a reasonable lift. Due to what's kind of going on in the studio and all the other stuff that's being developed. The main thing here was the gentleman who was working on this was very much, key part of the storyline and the timeline creation.
Okay.
And so it's kind of getting a lot of kind of story elements in there, while keeping the experimental nature of the map a little bit more controllable, not as bonkers as some of the other maps were.
Yes.
So I really liked it. I thought it was nice. I think there's again, it was something like I said, I think on Revelations. There was a time when could we make Revelations more? Absolutely. It would require a certain budget and be doing certain other things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, was it the right thing for the right time? Yes, it was. I feel the same about Alpha Omega, which was I think it's the right thing at the right time. Could I imagine more craziness? Of course I can.
Of course.
Yeah, that's what they pay me for, right? I thought it was the right thing for the right time. So I'd probably give it a B.
A B?
Yeah.
Okay, but would you put it in front of Blood or would you put it behind Blood?
I'd put it behind Blood.
Okay.
I think Blood had of that same problem, which is going back to a place. Mm-hmm. I think Blood had a harder time.
Yeah.
So
I
give it more credit for being able to. I think that the ground was riper for Alpha Omega to be able to own it a bit more, easier. I think Blood was always against like a mountain.
Oh yeah, it was climbing up a mountain.
Again, I feel that we gypped a little bit because like if we'd got a little bit more resource, a bit more time, I feel like Alpha Omega could have owned that map. Like, we could have really put. I think at best we got like a okay thing, right? We got a good place there. Mm-hmm. But I think the only reason why I'm a bit like is that was ripe for owning it. I don't think Blood could have ever owned Mob.
No, of course not.
But Alpha Omega could have if we'd only got a little bit more time, a little bit more juice on it.
Yeah, but I think from like a going back to your point on narrative, like I felt that was probably one of the strongest parts of Alpha Omega, like in terms of just exploring threads that have been almost 10 years at that point on explaining, and you almost have everything. It almost felt like how can we explain some of these at like the with one of the last chances we have.
And luckily the gentleman who did the timeline also worked on that, so he was ultimately aware of all the stuff.
Because it's stuff like Yuri explaining about the Pentagon Thief. Yep. You've got Ted from Transit who's just chilling. Doesn't really go anywhere with that, but still it was a nice homage there. And then just obviously all the stuff with Purnell, and then explaining all the origins that sort of tie in together nicely with sort of Gorod Crovey with the Wisps and
And we're at this point we know we're kind of bringing the story to a close, and so it's okay. How do we close in the same way that the timeline was kind of closing out a certain chapter of Zombies kind of fan fiction and fan theory, or kind of answering stuff and saying let's move on to a new discussion. I think Alpha Omega was kind of doing a very similar thing from a gameplay point of view.
Yeah.
Again, we'd often thought, the timeline's fun, but we always wanted auxiliary stuff to be that auxiliary, but the main game had to be the game. So like the comics are auxiliary. The timeline is auxiliary. Me saying something is an auxiliary thing, but you should be able to get it all from the game. And these extra things are for, you want to be more of a nerd, you want to know more about it.
You want that additional context.
It's the kind of stuff that I wanted when I was into properties, right? I'd want to get all the other stuff around it to fully understand the world.
Yeah.
So I felt like Alpha Omega was an opportunity to really not just be going, here's some other stuff out here. You know, it's like, let's put it into the game. That was Alpha Omega.
Yeah, and then I think like stuff like Broken Arrow, that was sort of touched upon in the comics, but then sort of brought full circle in Alpha Omega, like just things like that. Like, and also I think one of the most sort of underrated parts of the map is the experience of having 8 characters, having Primus and Ultimus and any variation of that.
And that was a hell of a lift.
I can't even imagine. Writing for 4 is enough, but writing for 8?
Yes. It was, I mean, by that point, we started to have a writing department, so we actually had multiple people in there, but it was stacks of paper. I remember people coming out with stacks of paper for all the lines, you know. So really fun. And that was just taking the lift of like, let's bring everybody into this map. Yeah.
And that was a great experience.
Yes.
Was there anything on Alpha Omega, like sort of reflecting back, that you wish you could do different? I mean, there's probably like multiple examples, but I guess if there was just like something from sort of the main quest, was there anything that you felt that you could have added that might have given like, I don't know, some additional context to something, or added like another element of gameplay? Because again, like you said with Ancient Evil, sort of Alpha Omega and then sort of towards the tail end of the game, the quest felt a lot more like that synergy of BO3 and BO4 sort of coming together, where it wasn't overly difficult.
Yep.
It
was as we were finishing out Ether again, because you're at the kind of tail end, and again there was different ideas for different maps. There was different ends to the season, right? These things are all kind of changing as you're moving, right? Looking at those last 2 and then knowing that they were going to be the end of that kind of Ether stories before we put it down. You know, we'd obviously got Ancient Evil, so we got the Chaos story to a certain kind of point, and then we're like, okay, now we've got to rest the Ether story here. There was this feeling of, well, let's not go crazy in 3 and 4. So is there stuff? Yes. I think if we were running at a different timeline with different pressures, yes. Both 3 and 4, we could have done so much different. But I would say that about nearly every map. And obviously I've got all the alternatives that are in my mind about what's kind of happening. Right? But again, it's you embrace what you did, and I'm very proud of those 2 maps. And I think the guys who worked on them did incredible work, right? But there are alternatives. So yeah, when you say that, all I see in my head is all the stuff that we had out there. But that would be a disservice to the guys who did great work, right? So I'm very happy with them. But yes, there's always an alternative timeline.
Oh, chat. There's probably going to be people in the chat now probably trying to come up with what those alternative timelines could be. But speaking of, let's now move on to the final map of the tier list. The End of Ether.
One of my favorite posters, by the way.
Oh, I love the poster. Oh, it's so good. I loved it. It's so different as well, because when you think when you look at all of the poster designs, I think every single one was so unique.
And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to make a little, like, I was getting these different artists in to do these different flares, right? And this one I was like, okay, go.
Because you look at it and you're like, that doesn't look anything like Call of the Dead. Just completely different. But Tag der Toten, in terms of a main quest, I mean, we could talk for a long time about sort of how difficult it must be to try and culminate everything into this one quest with that satisfying conclusion.
You know, thinking about you know, who's in the lighthouse, right? Thinking about thinking about you know, how do you bring the story to any kind of satisfactory conclusion, right?
It must feel like the weight of the world trying to achieve that.
I think the reason why you can kind of let the weight off a little bit is say there's very with the very nature of the story being told, it's going to be very hard to be truly satisfying. But if you look at the storytelling we're doing, it's a very mature storytelling, which is I think I mentioned this on another stream, which was reason why I'd liked a lot of Eastern films and animation and so forth was that any character could die at any point. Stories weren't guaranteed to end nicely. And I'd always felt like that Western stories and movies and so forth, that, you know, the guy always gets the girl and there's always a happy ending. And I felt like, at least, you know, what I'd drawn from Jimmy before me and then in my period of time was, you're not going to get the formula. We're not going to give you an easy game that you play, and we're not going to tell you a story that's going to make you happy at the end. You know, our careers as game creators, it's all doing the good stuff. And we're like, wow, we get to do the bad stuff if we want to. So to kind of go into it saying, we know that to some degree, they will not be happy with this. And actually, that's the purpose. Which we've kind of been playing with since
I was going to say,
Origins.
Since Origins, really.
Well, Moon before that.
Yeah, very true.
Right, so it had gone through multiple times, and I was like, well, we can't break the habit of a lifetime.
Yeah, we can't change this now.
The formula is to kind of, you know, to make you think, because you're all like going, well, you can't possibly do that. It's like, yes, we can. We can keep doing it. We can keep giving you this kind of pull the rug out from underneath you at the end kind of moment. Not just for the provocative, not just to be a provocateur, but I felt like the story's emotional core was that. It's not just me flipping the bird at you. It's like the emotional core of the story was characters trapped with disappointment and negative things happening. You know, characters don't live, characters die. Right? The cycle continues. They're continuously going through pain and suffering. We're asking you to get yourself up, dust yourself off, and go again. Right? That's the very nature of the mode. I think if we'd given you candy floss at the end, I think it would have felt disingenuous.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right? I mean, you know, I can go back to Black Ops 1, you know, when you kind of come out of the water at the end of Black Ops 1 and the jets fly over and the ships, you know, we discussed, you know, is that all in your mind? Because there's no way that's a positive ending. They don't bring all the ships and run over, fly formation over when you finish a mission of blowing up someone's going to destroy the world. That's not how that works, right?
No.
And we were like, does this kind of fall into the kind of Mason's kind of delusional mindset?
Yeah.
Kind of thing of like, everyone would come out and the battleships would be there and the planes would go and do this, right? We were kind of making fun of it in a little way. In the same way, I think we were kind of talking here and saying, now it's got to embrace the very nature of the story, and the nature of the story is one of disappointment, if you will. It's one of failure. It's one of loss. It's one of it's asking you to be uncomfortable, and it's asking you to do a story that the vast majority of Western people are going to have difficulty with the fact that it doesn't give satisfactory ending. It doesn't give you, you know, it doesn't give you the happy ending. It gives you quite a stark one that the characters have been warning you about the entire time. Right? That was the motivation for it.
Okay. I guess in a way, almost a bit more of a realistic ending, because like you said, not every story can have a happy ending, right? Sometimes we need to live in reality, and like you said, we've gone through all these cycles, all this suffering. Like if they were to, you know, survive, that would still perpetuate.
But I also think as well that it gave the characters' lives and journeys more meaning, the fact that they didn't succeed. Or did they, right? It's like the idea that is not a, here you go, it's all buttoned up, it's nice. But that's the very nature of the zombies mode in my mind, is that it wasn't packaged up and like, here's the answer.
We had to work it out.
You had to work it out, and I think that there was still disagreement, and you wanted that. So to get to the end and then say, okay, how do you finish it? You kind of had to accept, and this was some of the conversations we had with the scripters, because the scripters are intimidated by doing something like this, is to say, our job is to hit an emotional tone with this, not any particular step. So the feeling we want, and I don't care what steps you do as long as you get me that feeling. That was a little bit of the conversation.
Okay. I love that.
Which is very different to other maps where I say, these steps are the things that I want.
Yeah.
This is what I want to happen. This one was all about tone. I didn't care whether it was a soul box being filled up or standing in a circle where things come, you know, I don't care as long as the tension and the feeling is getting me ready for the payout. Right? And so we kept on asking questions about how does a game feel as they're going through this quest? and have we got them emotionally raw enough to then deliver the final scene? And can we get them effed up enough so that when the camera starts panning over the characters being dead, they don't realize it for a second or two? That was a conversation I was talking about. So we had one image, and we're going to pan across the image and show that they've all been poisoned, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, if we've got the main quest the right feels, vibe, right? It'll take a second for the audience, even though they're looking at the image, to realize what's just happened, and then they're going to be really messed up. And then we blow his brains out and put the blood, and then we put the blood on the branch, and then we give the girl, then we give Samantha the gun.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, then we have the lines. And by this point, what we're trying to do is emotionally just
right? Hit us like trucks, basically.
We're just trying to not let you recover, because then you're like, just a minute, what? Just a minute, what? Just a minute, what? And then as you're still going, just a minute, what? Then we go, I'd like to be a pathologist. Maybe I'll settle down. And then we're doing this while you're walking into the light, And like, that was the emotion we were trying to get, which was, then the details are not an important part, because if it was going to be the details, we're never going to satisfy you. If I go for the emotion that I kind of go, then regardless, you might go, it makes no sense, but I love it. And that's what we're going for, because I thought there's no way we can intellectually bring it to a landing, but maybe I can emotionally bring it to a landing.
I think you achieved that.
You tried.
Yeah, really, really achieved that. Like, I think everything you were saying there with the cutscene, it definitely felt that way where, once you saw those characters, dead, suddenly, it does take a moment to sort of think, wait, what is it? What is going on? And then, as you said, it just sort of keeps going. It just keeps going.
Yeah, and we wanted the quest to be exhausting you.
Emotionally exhausting.
Yeah, so that by the time that started happening, you're kind of like, shush, no one talk, no. You're all exhausted, because you were just, especially with the kind of circle in the darkness and things coming in and fighting, and then running. We're on edge. We do these things like with lockdowns where we pour in. What we're doing there is emotionally exhausting. That's what we're trying to do in those moments. Yeah. If you ever see us doing a lockdown, look at the thing we do after the lockdown. Because what we're trying to do is tire you out to make you appreciate the next thing more. It's a very common technique to do.
That's crazy. And I guess that ties in well with the boss fight on the map, because unlike, if we look at the launch of BO4 and then compare it, it's such a stark difference in boss fight, because there isn't necessarily a boss.
Yeah.
But in a way, it's still just as fun as if it was a full-on boss. Because you're using pretty much all of the map at that point in a really creative way. Like, it's almost like you're playing on a different version of the map. Sure. You've got different skybox. Like, there's no more ice. We've got lava. We're waiting all throughout Black Ops 4 for some map to appear with lava.
The floor's lava.
And then we finally got it.
Yep. So that's really what that is. It's probably the map that its goal was to try and create a feeling rather than any particular clever mechanic that we were particularly proud of. It was more, can we emotionally get you into a, in that way, it's probably, maybe you should disagree with me if you feel like, but it's probably the most one and done map. It was the idea that it wasn't really a replayable thing in its essence. It was trying to kind of tire you out and then deliver you the punchline. So, some of these maps we kind of talk about, like, it's going to be played over and over again, and as I said, we'd already kind of bought in on Black Ops 4 that the quest line was going to be this separate, hardcore thing, really, rather than it's part of the normal game. And that one, we were like, we have to try and just batter you down, so that, because the first time anyone sees it or experiences it, even if you've seen that video, we want you to feel that feeling again. Is it a quest that allows us to drain the players so that feeling is raw?
I feel like you achieved it. And I think the best example to prove that you achieved it is JC, because he had a very unique reaction, and it's like one of the most infamous ending reactions. Bless him. It encapsulates pretty much everything you've just said.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So in that sense, it's between a B or an A.
Okay.
Is where I'd place it.
Okay.
Because it was a lot of, you talk about the dimension of this. It was a lot of fun to make. There was obviously a pressure on it. I'm going to... I'm always harsh, you see, on mine.
Bring it on.
I'm gonna give it a B.
A B. Okay.
A B.
Are you gonna put it above Blood and Alpha Omega?
I will. Ooh. I'm going to put it. That's hard.
Ooh, we've got him stumped.
I'm going to put it between the two.
Between, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel if you put it in front of Blood, I feel like there would be an uproar. Just like when you said Zetsubo was an S tier map.
I stand by it. Come at me, bro.
What I enjoy so much is since then, I've been able to look at that map in a different lens.
Okay.
Where I'm like, everything Jason said is true. In terms of being the most experimental, the atmosphere, you really tried a lot with that.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can say that Dead of the Night is an S tier map, which I think a few years ago people wouldn't say.
Well, it's an A. I put it in an A.
Oh yeah, you put it in A.
Put it in A.
That might be controversial in itself that you didn't put it in S.
It could be. It's between the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Ancient Evil. When I think about the Black Ops 4 season, Ancient Evil is right up there, just because so much stuff was singing, and it
was
again,
so good.
The 4 edge had kind of softened a little bit, and when the 3 stuff was coming in a little bit, and I was like, this is starting to be the feel of the new thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we could have found an Ancient Evil. People disagree with me. I don't think we could have found Ancient Evil if we hadn't started and said, let's start over here rather than starting from 3. Let's try and do something that was very different, and then come back towards this. So that's why Ancient Evil.
Chat, do we agree? Hopefully everyone agrees. Although they are saying Dead of the Night is S tier. Not even close.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay, but with that, chat, please don't have that as the only thing you're going to like disagree with for the majority of the stream. And then for some reason, people don't think this is live. So, if that wasn't enough proof, I don't know. They think it's pre-recorded.
Well, I don't know how you do that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Okay, so that wraps up our Black Ops 4 main quest tier list.